experts have compared methods used by batterers to those used by terrorists and to brainwash hostages. So if you break away from that cycle and you get away and you are afraid, because battering is a pattern, a reign of force and terror, you are afraid your batterer would continue if they could find you, the Secretary of State has at least a solution to you not being found. Joining us right now is Barbara Redmond, Chief Deputy Secretary of State. Hello, Barbara. Welcome to the morning show.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. What can a person do if they move away from their batterer to make sure that they're never found?
Well, one of the things they can do, and we do recommend that they immediately seek the assistance of one of the domestic violence shelters. And while they're at the shelter working with an advocate, if they have left the abuser and they have no intentions of moving back, they have not yet relocated, but they plan to, the advocate works with them to create a safety plan. And part of that safety plan can include the address confidentiality program. And what that program does is it sets up a designated address, which is an address in state government, that individual will use as they're beginning to set up their new location. It has no relationship to where their location is. That is kept confidential in this office. And then as they begin to change their driver's licenses, all the credentials that you need, your bills, you can use the designated address as your public address.
So it's a State House station address, you write?
Yes.
How would it look like 235?
It would look like any other State House station.
Yeah, but people who don't know what that looks like, what is that? What is a State House station address? Is it 235 State House Station, Augusta, Maine, or how does it?
Yes, that's how it, yep.
Okay.
It's addressed to that individual at the State House, the designated address, Augusta, Maine, 04333.
Okay, and then they can have that on their driver's license? So
yes, they can.
And there's no difficulty if they're pulled over or there's a problem and they have to produce their ID, the police don't say, okay, so where do you really live? There's none of that it's just because the police can access their actual address?
Well, they would have to have a reason to access the actual address. The State House station also serves as for service process.
Okay.
And there is, in the rules, law enforcement, anyone that has a real reason to need that physical location can write to the Secretary of State, explain the situation as to why they need it, and then we can release it. We typically will contact the person.
So what happens, though, in a case of them just needing to be served with paperwork, is you could make sure that they get served with that paperwork?
Right. We would forward by us signing for the paperwork, it's acceptance that they've received it, we forward it to their actual location.
Barbie, it's Don Cookson. How you doing this morning?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Now, the AC program has been going on for quite some time. You've been in the Secretary of State's office since at least Dan Gwiadoski. When did the ACP program come into being?
It was the 120th legislature. Secretary Gwiadoski initiated the bill. It was sponsored by then Speaker of the House Mike Saxell. It became law during the 120th legislature, and I think the bill passed in 2003. We had to go through the rulemaking process and started accepting folks into the program in 2004.
And that program is the Address
Confidentiality
program. Okay. So if you're out there and you're thinking that this is something that you would like to have, you want to be protected from being located, is there a criteria that the Secretary of State's office uses before they let someone have address confidentiality?
Well, what we do is we've gone out before to get the program going. We went out to the domestic violence organizations, and the rules require that we train the folks, the advocates that are working with these people.
Mm-hmm.
They are the ones who sit with the individual, explain what the program can do, determine if they qualify. To qualify, you have to have relocated, and you're going to be at a new address that the abuser does not know. If the abuser knows where you are, there's absolutely no reason for this to be part of the safety plan.
Right.
But in many cases, they're put into the program because they've fled they have children with them, they're living in a shelter, they're trying to set up a home somewhere else that's unknown to the abuser. So the criteria is that there's a threat to them, and the abuser does not know where they're going or where they are at the moment.
So say they flee to an aunt or an uncle, though, and do they then have to get in contact with a Spruce Run so that they can qualify? I mean, they can't call you directly from the aunt and uncle's house?
Well, they can't get into the program directly. They have to be they have to work with the advocates, because those are the ones who know exactly what should be included in their safety plan and how to keep these people safe.
Right. So this is really important that you get the Spruce Run number, 1-800-863-9909. It's real important that you go through Spruce Run or another advocacy program. So even if you already got yourself somewhere you think is safe, if you want to avail yourself of this program or other programs, get a hold of one of the domestic violence projects.
What have participation levels been in the address confidentiality program? What sort of numbers are you serving?
Currently, we have 76 adults and 49 children enrolled in the program. Since the inception, we've served a total of 144 adults.
Wow! And when did you say this started?
2004 is. We spent about a year getting out into the community, training the application assistants. Those are the folks that actually can certify that this program, that they qualify for the program and it should be part of their safety plan.
That's a scary statistic. 75 people are.
Right now, we're fearful of their life.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
But we do have 113 application assistants currently trained statewide. There are 22 domestic violence agencies that they work in 34 locations across the state.
Now, can we get a list of those agencies maybe and put them up on our page or a link to them?
We have a list on our website.
Oh,
we have
great.
a page that explains the whole program.
And the list of the agencies. Great, that would be wonderful. Yeah, if you could send that to Dawn or to me.
I can email that to you. And it's a complete list of every county, and which some counties have 3, 4, 5. Well, actually, I'm looking at Aroostook. They have about a half a dozen agencies that can certify someone into the program.
What's the time frame that somebody is participating in the program? Talking about the address confidentiality program with Barbara Redmond, Deputy Secretary of State in Augusta. Somebody has this program become part of their process for working out of an abusive situation. They are approved to participate in the program. Generally speaking, how long is that transition time frame? How long are you guys tasked with contending with that influx of mail for a person?
For as long as the need is there. We certify them into the program. It's very quickly. A lot of times the shelters will contact us. They'll fax the applications. We get the folks as quickly as we can into the program with the ID card so they can begin to change, their credentials over using that new address. The certification is for 4 years for the participant. After 4 years, we do need a new application.
I worked with a woman who had fled domestic violence, and because she basically ended up shelter jumping, which is very common for people who are fleeing an abuser. The abuser finds you, you jump to another place, your kid talks to somebody online, and then their friends find out where they are. I mean, it's so hard to disappear from an abuser, especially when you have children, because your children have to give up every friend they ever had. And so she was doing this, and she ran into a problem where her car registration had lapsed because she had no way of staying in some sort of physical contact. This would have been a godsend to her. She obviously is not from the state of Maine. This would have been a real opportunity for her to be able to keep her life somewhat together without her abuser ever finding out. She re-registers the car, he doesn't know where she is. It would be such a protection.
It is a great program. Right now there are 36 other states in the nation that have either full ACP programs or partial ones or are actually working to get, full programs.
Right.
Did Maine lead the way on this? Was that?
No, I believe there were about 7 states that had programs at the time, and we modeled ours after the state of Washington.
Yeah, it seems like Washington, Oregon, and Maine probably all ought to just be cousins or something, because we do a lot of really, really smart things kind of ahead of the curve.
Yeah, the best practices model.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else that folks should know, that if they're needing help or needing assistance, can they keep a driver's license and all that other stuff through the Secretary of State's office if they're in this sort of bind?
Oh, yes. And we work closely with the towns, municipal agents, the domestic violence advocates, to try to get these folks through there's a lot of red tape when you move yourself.
Right.
And in this case, they're moving and trying to stay hidden. So we do everything we can. Sometimes we call the light company, the cable company, to verify that businesses do not have to use the address. State and local government agencies are required by law to use the address. But usually, you can, when you talk with CMP or the cable, you can just explain that any public record really for the safety of the person needs to have the State House Station address, and companies are very, very receptive to trying to keep people safe.
I see what you're saying. If you have your electricity turned on, they may use the address of of where the electricity went if they don't hear from you or someone like you who says, by the way, this person needs to have the safety address used instead
of the physical location.
Yeah. Great stuff. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.